Okay, now I'm going to start officially since we are recording. You guys can't see it on here because she's doing a screen share, but this is the library's meeting owl, and some other libraries have one as well. And so what people on Zoom are seeing is this is, sorry, they're going to go, what are you doing? This is the camera on top, and it's a 360 camera, so they can see all of you. And what happens is when somebody speaks, it zooms in on the speaker, but it also shows the entire room at the top as well. So it's a great way to have an interactive, immersive experience in this new world that we're doing, where we are viewing these things online and in person. It also has a built-in speaker and microphone, so it's picking me up for those that are joining us on Zoom. And if any of them raise their hand and want to ask a question, we'll be able to hear them talking as well. So it works wonderfully. Backing up one more time though, I also forgot to tell you, my name is Sherry Sanderson. I am the library director here at the Boulder Junction Public Library. I am very, very rusty. This is the first in-person program I have done since August. So I'm rusty. So thank you for bearing with me. Seeing people face to face is not unusual, but actually remembering what I'm supposed to tell you is what I'm rusty at. So Teresa is the library director at the Mercer Public Library. She also is a computer and technology whiz. And she can do this program way better than I could. And she has done this program before, and I've actually watched the program when she's done it for the Mercer Public Library, and I decided that you guys deserve the best. And so Teresa is here today because she is the best. She's going to go through a lot of stuff. So as I talked about earlier, this is not going to be stuff you're going to be able to memorize. You can take notes, but you still might not be able to write down the whole link. So all of this will be available, a link to the slides, a link to the recording, so you can go back in later. You could even have your device in your hand and go back to the video or go back to the slides and say, okay, here's this Fire Stick. Now, what was I supposed to do? Or here's this website. Now, how was I supposed to get to it? So don't worry about having to memorize everything. Do you have a preference for a question and answer? Do you want to wait to the end or allow people to ask during the program?
No, you're welcome to ask me throughout the program. Just raise your hand, or if you're online, maybe just unmute yourself, and when I'm paused, maybe just clear your throat or something, because I won't be able to see you exactly online, because I'm not always going to stand right behind the computer. But please do interrupt me if you have questions as we go. I find that works best, because if I keep on going, you might forget what your question was, or I might lose my train of thought later on too. So yeah.
And for those online, I'm going to go jump on my other computer and monitor this. And if you have a question in chat, if you don't want to unmute yourself and you have a question in chat, I'll make sure Teresa sees that question. So feel free to also type your questions in chat and we will for sure get them answered. So I'm going to let Teresa get started so that we can get right into the meat of it. And thank you again for all coming. Thank you.
All right. So yes, thank you very much for being here. As Sherry said, my name is Teresa. I'm the director of the Mercer Public Library. Normally I would take my mask off to present, but I've just spent the last about 36 hours in airports. So I don't want to, necessarily risk anybody. So if you cannot hear me, just go like this so I can know that you're not hearing me, and I will try to speak up and I'll try to enunciate. We do have the mic going. I hope that's helping a little bit, but just let me know, give me your feedback if you're having trouble understanding me, please. And I'll have my contact information up at the end of the program too, so you can see. $18.6 billion is how much Americans spent on streaming media just in the first 3 quarters of 2021 alone. So this isn't even a whole year's total. The Digital Entertainment Group, which is an industry group that tracks these kind of statistics, they estimate that about 80% of Americans' home entertainment spending is now spent on streaming media. So we're not buying DVDs anymore. We're not going out to movies because there aren't movies in the theaters very much right now. But we're spending that same amount of money on streaming. So this is getting bigger and bigger every year. The last time I did this program, I think it was about half that total. It's really kind of taken off exponentially. And there's a lot of reasons for that. The biggest reason I think is that internet access is becoming more available to more Americans. You do have to have a decent internet connection in order to stream your media. So that's making a big difference. And then the convenience and the cost savings of streaming as opposed to traditional cable or satellite service is making a difference too. So you're going to not be alone if you jump on the streaming bandwagon here. There's so much of it going on. Don't take notes yet. Don't panic. This is the kind of thing we're going to talk about today, and we're going to revisit this slide at the end. because there are a number of considerations. If you've never done streaming media before, and I'm assuming that you haven't, and that's why you're in the class, maybe you have a little bit of knowledge, and that's great too. There's a lot of things you need to think about. You need to think about your budget. You need to think about your internet connection. You need to think about what works for you and your family and what you're watching. Are you trying to get my attention?
Did you share screen yet?
I did, yes.
I'm not seeing it in my Zoom.
Oh, I'm so sorry for those who are at home. Let's pause and see what we're doing here. Yeah, for some reason I'm not seeing it on my computer. Oh, I had shared the screen. Sorry about that. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, those of you at home, can you see my screen now? I can't see any of you. Sherry, why don't you go back and check and just unmute yourself.
Yes, we can see the screen now.
Thank you very much, Mary. Okay, so you didn't miss anything on the first slide, I promise. It said 18.6 billion is how much Americans spent on streaming services in the first 3 quarters of last year. So this is the stuff we're talking about today: your budget, your internet connection, how you want to be able to watch television and movies, and then what content you're looking for. What I don't have time to do today is talk about individual devices and how they are functionally used. Once you plug in that Fire Stick or whatever device you decide on, you're going to have to kind of figure it out on your own. And there's a couple of reasons that I can't do that today. One is there's too many of them. Every one of you in this room could pick a different device, and I wouldn't be able to cover them all in any kind of reasonable amount of time. Number 2 is they change all the time. They're just like your computer or your smartphone. They update themselves all the time. And some people get very uncomfortable with that. You've learned how it works. You don't want it to change. I understand. I am sympathetic, but it's kind of the way technology goes. And what you have to start doing is shifting from a ABC procedure in your brain to a, what do I want to do and where might they have hidden that in the menus? And that's the kind of thing that you only get by playing with your own device. We are going to talk about some of the devices today. I'm going to tell you about what is available, how much they cost, where they might be appropriate or not. But when it comes down to actually using your own device, you are going to be a little bit on your own. The good news is, if you have used a computer before, if you've used a tablet, if you've used a smartphone, you are way ahead of the game. If you've also used a satellite television receiver, like Directv or Dish, they're not that different. They really aren't. They look different on the surface, but they function a lot of the same ways. You're going to get a remote control. You're going to be able to click around and change your channels. So anybody who's used a TV in the last, say, 15, 20 years is going to be able to do this. You just might have a steeper learning curve if you don't have the technology skills. So we're going to come back at the end of the presentation and talk about this slide again. So let's go on here. Oops, now I'm lost my clicker. All right, so what is streaming anyway? What are we talking about here? Streaming media is multimedia that is constantly received by and presented to an end user while being delivered by a provider. That's a fancy way of saying you don't have to wait for it all to download before you can start watching it. So it used to be if you bought a digital movie, you had to wait like 2 hours or 4 hours or overnight for it to download to your device, and then you could watch it. With streaming media, if your internet connection is good enough, you click play, about 10 seconds later, your computer has loaded enough of it to get it started playing in front of you. And it's continuing to load into your device and then show it to you, not quite instantaneously, but pretty close to it. So you don't have to wait for something to download. So in today's talk, I have to assume a few things. I have to assume that you have internet service at home. We'll talk about what kind of internet service you might want to have. I'm going to just try to move my mouse. I'll hide this if I can. There we go. We're going to talk about, I'm going to have to assume that you have internet service at home. I'm going to have to assume that you have an email account because you're going to need one for any account that you set up for streaming. And I'm going to have to assume that you have some basic internet navigation skills. If you don't have any of those things, Sherry is here and I'm over in Mercer. I do Tech Tuesday appointments right now. It used to be just drop in on Tuesdays, and now it's make an appointment with me. And I walk through some of these basic skills with people. So there's ways for you to get help, but that's not what today's program is about. So if you want to get started streaming, what do you need? You pretty much need 4 things. You need an internet connection. You need a screen to watch on. That could be a TV or some other device. You need a streaming device, something that's going to actually do that processing of streaming that incoming media for you. And you need a service. Some of those services are free, some of them are not. We'll talk about both kinds. Let's talk about your internet service first. So you here in Boulder Junction are at a big advantage because you just got fiber to the home. And every other community in the Northwoods is extremely jealous of you. Let me tell you, over in Mercer, we're like, what? How did they do that? So if you have internet service at your house, it does need to be somewhat robust in order to stream media. So under the speed category over there, I've listed a few examples of the kind of internet speed you need in order to stream that kind of media. So audio, music is the lowest bandwidth streaming. It's 128 kilobytes is going to get you a decent amount of audio coming through. So if you're just listening to music, if you're listening to Pandora or one of those online music providers, almost any internet service in the Northwoods is going to do, because you're not really, most homes aren't getting that slow service anymore. If you want to do standard definition video, so this is 580 pixels, if you know what that means, smaller screens. You don't want to put standard def on your big TV if you can help it. If you've got 3 megabit service, you're going to be okay. It's going to maybe be a little jerky, maybe not be quite great quality, but it's going to work. If you want to stream high def video, you're going to need 5 to 8 megabit service. If you want to stream 4K video, the official rule is you're going to need 18 to 25 megabit service. You can probably get away with less. I have. If you've got a house with multiple people living in it, you've got the grandkids visiting, you've got teenagers at home, and you want to do multiple streams, you're going to want to try to find yourself 50 megabyte service or better. Now, if you're on the new fiber internet that's coming into Boulder Junction, you are fine. If you're on a DSL connection, you need to look at what you're getting and see if it's going to be fast enough. Speedtest.net is a good way to do that. You just open up your web browser, go to speedtest.net, click start, and it will measure how fast your service is, and it'll give you a measure. That's often going to be a smaller number than CenturyLink promised you would get. So I'm paying for 25 megabit service at my house. I'm lucky if I'm getting 18 to 20. But at the same time, I have 2 teenagers living at home. We are often streaming multiple things at once, and we're doing just fine on our 20 megabit service. So those numbers are not hard and fast, is what I'm saying. So questions about your internet speed. Anybody have questions about how to figure out what you're getting at home?
Teresa,
Yeah.
just to clarify, is that the upload speed or the download?
Upload speed. Sorry, no, download speed.
Down.
The speed at which things are coming into you. When you're streaming, you're sending almost nothing up yourself.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, since
right.
the 2 of them show up on
Exactly.
speedtest.net.
Yeah. And the download speed is the faster one. So when you're like, if you're getting your internet from CenturyLink and it's DSL, it might say 25.3 or 56 or something like that. The first number, the bigger number, is your download speed, and that's what we're talking about here. So data plans. Is anybody here thinking of streaming on an internet service that has a limit on its data? Okay, good. I'm not going to talk about it much then. If you're trying to stream onto a cell phone and you have a limited data plan, not always a great idea, because these files are big. A movie file is going to download at least a couple of gigabytes of data. And if you only have a 2 gig plan on your cell phone, that's going to be a problem. So this data list here, and again, you'll have access to these slides later. That's just giving you an idea of how much data transfer is going on with these streams. So if you're watching YouTube television at 4K resolution, you're going to stream about 16 gigabytes an hour. That's a lot of data, but it's not a lot for a fiber connection. It is kind of a lot for a cell phone connection. And then the connection between whatever device you're using to stream and the internet is kind of important. If you have a really old Wi-Fi router in your house, you might want to think about upgrading, because the older standards, which are this 802.11n, A, B, or G, they're just not as fast as the newest one. So the newest one is AX, sometimes known as Wi-Fi 6, I think, or Wi-Fi 5 is AC, I think. Don't quote me on the numbers. Wi-Fi 6 is the fastest and newest. Probably not everybody here has it. Wi-Fi 5 is still pretty good. If you're getting to the older standards and you're noticing your streaming isn't working great, that could be a part of the problem. The fastest way to connect your device to the internet is through Ethernet cable. So that looks like a big phone cable, you know, and it would plug into the back of whatever your box is that's bringing the internet into your house. And then it would plug into your device, whether that's your computer or your television or your streaming device. And if you can do that, that's the way to go, because it's going to be faster than Wi-Fi. But if what you have is Wi-Fi, that's going to work too for most people. And it's probably not the first reason that you should troubleshoot, unless you know your Wi-Fi router is really old. Questions about that? All right. So if it's slow, what do you need to think about? Interference, microwave ovens, cordless phones, etc. I put this on the slide because everyone always asks me, is it my cordless phone? Is it my microwave? Probably not. But it could be. If you set your Roku television box right next to your cordless phone, which is right next to your microwave, probably not a great idea. But most of the time, interference isn't what it is. ISP slowdowns, you'll notice, you might not notice if you're on fiber, but if you were on DSL in a neighborhood, or if you're on cable for sure, after school time is usually a big slow time for the internet because all the kids get home and they jump on their gaming networks. A busy source is often a reason. So if you're trying to watch a big sporting event, if you're trying to watch a live concert that suddenly sold more tickets than they thought they were going to sell, they can get overwhelmed on their end. It might not be you, it might be them trying to stream out. So that could be a problem. And then your equipment, I told you about, you know, your older Wi-Fi router might be part of the problem if you've got a really old one. And when I say really old, 5 years old or more could be an issue. 10 years old, yeah, I'd look at upgrading that. But it might depend exactly on your box. So if you 5 years ago bought top of the line, brand new standard, you're probably still fine. But if 5 years ago you rented the cheapest one that CenturyLink was offering, it may not be a great one to still use now. So those are some things to think about. If you've purchased internet from your provider that's supposed to be fast enough, but you're still getting not a great streaming experience, that could be some of the reasons why. Questions about that? All right, so let's talk about what you're going to watch on. So you're going to watch your media. And, you know, streaming can be any kind of media. It can be video games, it can be music, it can be audiobooks, it can be, but primarily what I'm talking about is video, because those are the questions I get from people. And that's why this program is called Ditch the Dish. People want to get rid of their satellite dish because it's expensive and it's not really all that great anymore, and they want to watch something else. So I'm focusing mostly on video streaming. If you have questions about other types, though, feel free to ask. So you need a screen of some sort to watch your video on. Now you could watch on your smartphone. You really can. It's not a great experience because it's small, but it works. And a lot of these have really nice quality screens in them. But a lot of people will first think about a smart TV. Do you need a smart TV? Well, what is a smart TV? A smart TV is a TV that can connect to the internet and can run apps. It's really a lot like a tablet or a smartphone in itself. But usually they have limited operating systems that just enable you to watch video. They don't like offer you some of them do offer games, but mostly they don't. Mostly they just connect you to a video streaming service. Do you need a smart TV? Not necessarily. That digital entertainment group that I mentioned earlier in the program, they estimate that 60% of smart TV owners aren't using the smart features of their TV. They have a smart TV, but they're plugging something else into it to do their streaming. So that works too. And there had been, they're getting better, but I still think they're out there, some security concerns with smart TVs because they're simplified operating systems. They don't get updated very frequently. So if you have an older one, there were some problems with smart TVs not having secure cameras or microphones. So if your smart TV was set up to be able to do video chatting and it's got a camera and a mic in it, and some hacker might be able to turn on that camera or mic, that could be an issue. So not saying that every smart TV is like that, but it's something to think about. And smart TVs vary a lot. So Roku, which is a streaming service, offers an operating system for smart TVs, and it's pretty good. It's pretty easy to use. It's pretty powerful. LG televisions use their own operating system. It's called WebOS. and it consistently gets pretty bad reviews. It's just kind of mediocre. It's not a great user experience. So if you have a smart TV and you like the way it works, and you know that it's relatively new and you're not concerned about security issues, and it could be something as simple as like on your laptop, throw a piece of tape over the camera, that might be good enough, then go ahead and use it. If you have a smart TV and you're not certain about it, or you just don't like the way it works, the simplest solution is turn off the internet. Don't give it the Wi-Fi password. Don't plug it into the network, and then plug in some other streaming device, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So even if you have a smart TV, you can choose not to use it as a smart TV. You can just plug something else in to stream to it. Does that make sense? I'm seeing some nodded heads. Any questions about this? So if you want to get a smart TV, again, you're going to get the access to the slides. I've got some links on this that will take you to some 2020 reviews of smart televisions. They range in cost from several $1,000s to about $400. So there is a wide range of them available. And you can look at those reviews and try to figure out one that's going to be user-friendly and good for your needs. So just to talk for just a moment, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but just so you know the terminology, most of the time you're going to be plugging in a streaming device. If you're going to plug one in and not just use the stuff that's already built into your smart TV, you're going to plug it in through an HDMI port, high definition multimedia interface. That's this one. You've seen this, right? I mean, this has been on TVs for quite some time now. As long as your television has an HDMI port, you can use almost any streaming device. It's useful to have a USB port on the back of your television also, because if you choose a stick device, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, some of them also need to be plugged into power. Some of them you'll just plug into the HDMI port and they'll have a separate box that you plug into the wall, but some of them will need power somewhere. So if your television has a USB port on the back of it, that can be a good source of power for those little sticks. 4K Ultra HD is a definition, like the resolution of the screen of the video that can present. There is such a thing as 8K. A lot of new TVs will come with 8K, which is 4 times as good as 4K, or is that how that works? I forget. But most streaming services do not yet support 8K because that's a lot of data they have to move through a stream. It's just really a lot. Most of them are doing 4K now. Some of them sell you standard definition streams, and then you pay extra if you want high definition. Almost none of them do 8K yet. They will eventually, I bet. So standard definition is pretty low definition. This is referring to the number of pixels going across the video screen. And standard definition is pretty low. Typical high definition is 1080p. 4K is about 4 times that. It's over 4,000 pixels across. So it's an exponential thing. HDR means high dynamic range, better contrast, more colors. Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos are video and sound formats that it's nice if your streaming service supports those, if your television does. They're not necessary though, but that's just some of the typical things you're going to see. I had some notes in this slide. Let me just go here. Oh, yeah. So there's, when you're buying a new television, it's going to tell you whether it's LED or QLED, or it's going to tell you that it's OLED. I'm not going to say a lot about that, but LED, light emitting diodes, that's pretty much the standard in televisions now. OLED is a lot more expensive, but it's also much greater video quality because the system can actually turn on and off each individual pixel. It's not that the pixel is displaying black, it's that the pixel is turned off completely. So you get a lot better video quality and a lot better sharpness, especially with darker things, which is typical for TV movies now. So all that was if you want to buy a TV, right? You can also use a computer monitor to stream, and you can use a tablet or a smartphone. You can use your PC, your laptop, your Chromebook. You can stream on anything that has a screen that can connect to the internet. So a lot of people now aren't even bothering with the television. They're streaming on their tablets, but that's not a nice way to sit back in the living room at night and watch a movie with the family. But it's all possible. Once you have subscribed to these services, you can choose how you use them, and you can use them in multiple ways. So you can watch a movie on the TV at night, and then you can download a movie to take with you on the airplane tomorrow. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So that's the end of me talking about devices. Does anybody else have a screen question? All right, let's go on to streaming media players. So I did update these prices yesterday. They change every second. So don't quote me on any of them. They go on sale, they offer specials, they go off sale. It's going to change every moment that you look at it. So we'll just talk about some of the big ones, and I'll tell you a little bit about their formats and what kinds of things make them cost different amounts of money. I am not a video connoisseur. I'm not a super movie watcher. So to me, like, does it have surround sound? I don't care. I just want to see the movie and hear it, right? So for me, I'm always looking at the cheap end of these things because I don't need all the features. But some people really are movie people, and they really want to feel the bass rumble when the explosion happens, and they want to see the big screen. They're going to look at the bigger things. And that's really the biggest price difference in these devices that you're going to see is the quality of the stream that they can support. The streaming device itself does have to process the information that's coming into it. So a streaming device needs a processor. It's a little mini computer, basically, and you're paying for the quality of the computer. So just like a person that's doing spreadsheets can buy a relatively inexpensive computer if they're just doing a basic spreadsheet, whereas a gamer, like a true actual gamer guy, teenager, young adult who really knows what he's doing and he doesn't want to get shot because his internet was too slow or his graphics card didn't keep up, he's going to buy a much better computer than I'm going to buy for my spreadsheet. It's the same thing with streaming devices. So if you are I just want to see the movie, the $30 devices are going to work for you. If you are I really want to see the movie in high def and I want it to support my sound bar with my super high-end sound system and I want my 4K screen resolution, then you're looking at the bigger numbers. Even so, these numbers are not big if you think about what we used to pay when we had to buy like satellite equipment, right? Where they didn't give it to you for free and you had to pay $500–600 to get it installed. So these are still a lot less expensive than that. So the Amazon Fire TV, Amazon, of course, big player in the media world. They want to sell you their devices because they also can sell you movies and shows and rent them or subscribe to them, etc. So their devices are cheap because they're making the money on the content. And that's fine. That's a business model for them. A stick device, so these first two, actually these first three are stick devices. And a stick device is about this big. And it plugs in behind your TV, so you don't even see it. And if you've got that's okay. I just want to make sure you're going to tell me something. If you've got a USB port on the back of your TV too, you can plug in the power and you can plug in the stick and none of it will show. So if you've got a wall-mounted television, you're not going to have 3 more cables hanging down. So they're very convenient and they're very small and they're very inexpensive. So the stick Lite is the cheapest one. It only supports HD video. It doesn't support 4K. And there's no TV controls on its remote. So all of these are going to come with remote. Most of them are going to come with a remote control. Some of them can only control themselves on the remote. Some of them will have a remote where you can adjust the volume on your TV and the other features of your television. So the cheaper ones typically are not going to have television remote features because it's a different technology. Usually it's infrared or something like that that's controlling the TV remote. The Fire Stick Lite is going to talk through the Wi-Fi in the remote. So it's going to be a different technology there. So the next step up is the Fire Stick 4K. And the biggest difference there is the video quality that it supports, the 4K video. So if you've got a 4K TV, you probably want to have a streamer that can do the 4K. Maybe sometimes your internet won't support it, but it's worth being able to. You don't really want to limit yourself to low quality video if you went ahead and bought a 4K TV. The Fire Stick 4K Max is a little more expensive. It's got an Alexa voice remote. So you can say, hey, Alexa, play Stargate or whatever your favorite movie is. And she'll be able to find it for you if you have access. And it also supports Wi-Fi 6, which is the latest Wi-Fi standard. So if you've got a brand new Wi-Fi router and you really want that speed as best you can get it, then again, these devices are going to be, you're going to look for that in your specs. The Cube is this one up here. Obviously the cube-shaped one. It has an Ethernet adapter, so it's not going through Wi-Fi. You can plug it in if you have a way to plug into your internet. And so that's going to be just a little faster than Wi-Fi was. It also has far field voice control, so I can sit in my easy chair and talk to it and say, hey, Alexa, what's the weather tomorrow? And it will talk back even when the TV's not on. It's a regular like Alexa device, like the Amazon Echoes and things like that. The Fire TV Cube also has storage in it, 16 gigabytes of storage, so that you can download some of your movies and things if you want to be able to store copies of things. I'm not certain if it works like a DVR. I don't think it does. I think it's just for downloading things that you've purchased through Amazon. And it supports the high-end sound and video standards. So again, just from cheapest to most expensive, it's going from the lower end sound and video to the higher end. But even at that top price, it's still a relatively affordable device for a lot of people. Roku is probably one of the biggest players in the market right now. Roku has a whole range of devices, and you can buy them from a lot of different retailers. So you can pick up a Roku at Walmart or at Best Buy, or you can buy them through Roku's website. The Amazon, you're pretty much going to order it from Amazon. So again, same sort of thing. The Roku Expresses are stick type devices like this one up here. Sorry, those of you at home can't see that, but it's another stick device. It's a little bitty guy that's going to go in the back of your TV, and you're not going to see it once it's in there. And the inexpensive one, priced in the same price range as the Amazon ones. No questions why, right? They're a competitor. Simple remote, so it's only going to control itself. It's not going to control the TV. And the Express 4K Plus has the voice remote, so you can talk to it. So I think that the Roku uses the Google Assistant. I can't remember which one it uses. I'll have to look that up. 1080p, meaning it supports HD video, not 4K video, but HD video. So it's going to be decent. The streaming stick 4K, just a little bit higher. It's got long range Wi-Fi, so it can be a little further from your Wi-Fi router and still pick up enough signal to work. It also has a voice remote. The Ultra has a cool lost feature on the voice remote where it can beep at you. You press a button on it and the remote will start beeping, so you can find it in the catfish. So that's kind of fun. And the Roku Ultra has a better processor. So remember I said these are little computers. The Roku Ultra has a better processor, so it's going to launch faster. It's going to be a smoother interface as you're working with it. It's not going to feel as jerky as you're clicking around through things. So that's why I said better experience. It's kind of a nebulous thing. I can't say, it's going to be this much % faster or whatever. It just feels nicer, And then Roku also makes a stream bar. So if you want to get a sound bar for your TV to make your sound quality better, Roku makes one that is a sound bar plus a streaming device all wrapped up in one. And it does seem pretty nice. It's the higher cost end of the spectrum. Apple TV, like typical Apple hardware, is expensive, but it's also very, very nice. I have an Apple TV. I got mine through a great deal that Hulu was offering at the time. And the Apple TV is a very nice user experience, much like using an iPad over using an inexpensive Walmart tablet. It's smoother, the graphics are great, the interface is very intuitive, but they're expensive. So, and it's not necessary to spend this much to get a streaming device. So you're gonna make that choice for yourself. The regular both Apple devices they don't make a stick device. They make a box that sits underneath your TV and you plug in with an HDMI cord. So there's no option for hiding that. So if you've got a television that's mounted on the wall, you are going to have that extra cord running up there. However, you're getting those cords up there. This is an old picture. The remote on the Apple TV looks different now because it's got a Siri voice interface that's a little nicer than the old one. The older one does have a Siri voice interface. Well, one model back, but it's even better now, apparently. The Apple TVs also come with storage, so you can download things to them and store copies. So if you buy a movie through the Apple Store, you can download a copy to have in your Apple TV. So if your internet isn't great and you're having trouble streaming, you can do the old buy the movie in the morning so you can watch it in the evening thing when you're using the Apple TV. And again, the price difference in this one, it's the HD video versus the 4K video, and then it's the size of the storage space, and it's also the processor. So the older one, I think it might be an A10 now, but the newer one has the Apple A12 chip, and it's a really nice computer chip. So again, it's just a really nice interface to work with. It's much like using an iPad, except for not, instead of swiping on the screen, you're swiping on your remote, basically. This is the only device that gives you access to your iTunes library. So if you're already steeped in that Apple ecosystem and you've bought movies through Apple and you've got music that you purchased through Apple, you can access those things on your Apple TV. You can't easily do that with other devices, except through apps, which I'll talk about later. And then Google makes a really nice little device. It's relatively inexpensive at $50. It's called the Chromecast with Google TV. And it's hard to explain the Chromecast because it's a little bit different interface. You're actually going to be doing stuff on a computer or a tablet or a smartphone, and then that device is going to be streaming to the Chromecast, which is displaying on your TV. So it's a little bit of an extra step. For people who aren't super tech savvy, it is a little more confusing. It's definitely the kind of thing you can learn, but it's a little less intuitive when you get started at it. Once you do get it started, though, I actually own one of these because they're pretty inexpensive, and I got one for $30 a little while back. And once you get it set up, it really just seems to sort of work. You don't have to think about it a lot, but getting it set up is a little more, it's just a little different. It's not harder, it's just different than you would expect. So you can get a Google Chromecast with Google TV. Google, of course, owns YouTube, so they're all connected now. And Google has Google. I mean, they are Google, so the voice search features are great. The searching features are awesome because Google has all that Google power behind it. So they are really nice devices. And Google also owns Nest. So if you have any Nest smart home products, again, if you're in that ecosystem already, you might look in that same direction for buying your streamer. I'm not going to talk a lot about the Nvidia Shield because I don't think there's a lot of gamers in here. Is anybody a Call of Duty player or anything like that? No? Okay. I'm pointing this out because there are more streaming devices than what I've talked about so far. There's actually lots more. Nvidia is one of them. This one is really targeted towards the gaming market. It's really focused on high speed, quality graphics, that sort of thing. So there are others. I've mentioned sort of the big players, the ones that you're going to hear about a lot, and there are many other good ones too. So just because I didn't talk about something today doesn't mean it's not good. If you want to know more about the Nvidia Shield, we can talk about it, but I won't spend a lot of time on that. If you want to watch on your mobile device, so if you want to watch on your laptop or on your tablet or on your smartphone, all you really need is the app. And the app is free. You have to sometimes have a subscription to access the content, but the app itself is free. So it's just like downloading an app for any other thing that you're going to do on your phone. And so you can just use your tablet if you want to do that. So that's kind of me talking about the devices that you're going to plug in to make this streaming happen. Any questions about those? Any comments? All right. So now we're going to talk about where you're going to get the stuff. All right, I'm making it work. My kids bought me a thing. It's plugged into the TV. It's all set up. I just want to watch my show. How do we do it? That's the real question, right? So first, we're going to talk about ways to watch for free. Most of what you're going to see on streaming, you are going to have to pay for. Not all of it is free, right? But you can get a whole bunch of stuff for free. And if you really have no budget or you just don't want to spend it on this, you can get quite a bit of stuff for free. So we'll talk about that real quick. Over the air still works. You can still get an antenna, and you can still get, on a good day, channel 12. Park Falls usually comes in pretty well for most people around here. I don't know if you guys here in Boulder get Wausau. We don't get it over in Winchester where I live. But you can get an antenna. You can plug your antenna in. So that is still an option. And there are some streaming services that try to wrap that together with their stream so you can get those local channels. So the thing about the antenna is it's a relatively small upfront investment, and then the TV after that is free. So, and it's local. It has to be local because it's coming to you over the air. So if you really want to get those channels, those are possible still. The other thing you can do with any laptop or tablet or whatever is you can watch local news on their websites. And that's what my husband does in the morning. He turns on channel 12 on the computer, which is sitting in the living room, and he just listens to the news. They broadcast their news on their website, and it's free to anybody who looks at their website. So I just listed two of them, channel 12 and channel 7. There are others, look up their websites. And if you know what time their news plays, most of the time those local channels will stream their news broadcasts. That may not universally be true because some of their content comes through their big networks and they may not want to stream it over the air. But like channel 12 will stream their whole broadcast. Channel 7 does too, I'm pretty sure. And all the national news networks will let you watch news clips on their websites for free. So if you go to cbsnews.com, you're not going to get a CBS broadcast per se, but if you want to listen to the video story about this topic or that topic, you can click on all of those. You can stay up to date with all the news just by going to those news websites. There are also lots of free streaming services out there, and they really are free. You have to watch advertisements. So it's more like the old traditional television model. The broadcast is free. Your time watching ads is how they pay for it, right? So Pluto TV is one that we actually kind of like at our house. It's now owned by Viacom CBS. That just happened a couple of years ago. And it's a lot of like basic cable channels, you know, like I'm trying to think of what's on there exactly. But it's like the basic cable. It's not like you're not going to get ESPN on it. You're not going to get like, I don't think you even get HGTV, but you might get DIY sometimes or whatever. But there's a lot of good stuff in there. And if you just like to be able to turn on the TV and flip through the channels and find something to watch, one of these free services is often a good way to do that. So Pluto TV is pretty good. News On, I don't know if you can see that, it's News On, is local news broadcasts from around the country. It used to be better than it is now. I used to recommend this highly because there were many Wisconsin stations that would participate. And the way it works is it's an app that you install either on your streaming device, on your Roku or on your Amazon stick or your Apple TV, or on your tablet or your smartphone. And you go in there and you say, I want to watch Duluth news. I want to watch Duluth 6 o'clock news broadcast. And it's usually available around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. And you can go in there and watch their news broadcast. So it's delayed, but it is today's news broadcast. There are quite a few broadcast networks that participate. Berkshire Hathaway still does, Sinclair Broadcasting Company. So there's a lot of these local stations that are owned by these larger broadcasting groups are still in News On. But the problem with News On these days is their ads have gotten more intrusive and disruptive. And they sort of pop them in at random times. It's not like when the normal commercial break would be on the news channel. So it's jarring and weird. So I don't recommend it as much as I used to, but it is still a convenient way to get some of those local news broadcasts. Crackle and Tubi are similar to Pluto. They really are like basic cable channels. They have different owners, so they have different content available to them. Tubi has MGM and Lionsgate movies, but not the really new ones. You're going to get 10-year, 15-year-old MGM and Lionsgate movies. So quality movies, but just not really brand new movies. But for free, you know, it's pretty good. So all of these things you get by downloading their apps to your streaming device, whatever your device is. So your tablet, if you have an iPad, you go to the App Store, you look for the Crackle app, and it's going to be in there. You're going to download it, and you're going to be able to watch stuff. Same thing with your Fire Stick. Your Fire Stick has a store to get apps, and so does your Apple TV, so does your Roku device. So you're going to go to the store, you're going to download the app for whatever service you want to use, and you're going to open it up, and you're going to see what content they have available. So those are some good free ones. And those are like live TV models. You don't get to, not universally. Some of those have free movies that you can stream on demand. So you can say, I want to watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and you might find it on Tubi or Crack. I think you probably can find it on Tubi.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
I have a Fire Stick. How do I go to the store on the Fire Stick?
There is an Amazon store on the Fire Stick. There should be. It's just like, because Amazon has an app store. So there should be already an app in there somewhere that you can actually install.
But I do it on my Fire Stick.
Yeah, you do it on your Fire Stick. You're going to do it with your remote control, which sometimes is awkward because you don't have a keyboard. So when you need, because you'll need to log into your Amazon account, you probably already are logged into your Amazon account, but you might have to enter your password. You might have to search with the on-screen keyboard by scrolling over to the A and then scrolling over to the M, you know what I mean? So it's not a great interface, but it is in there. So I would look around for that. Does that make sense? So those free stuff, they're mostly like live TV or cable TV. They have picked a broadcast schedule. You tune to the channel, you get what they're playing. But some of them also have on-demand movies where you can search for a title or of a movie or a show that you want to watch and play it when you want to. So on-demand services are all on-demand. There's not really a live channel. There's overlap, so we'll talk about the overlap. But anyway, you choose what you want to watch. You say, I want to watch The Handmaid's Tale. You search for it, you pull it up. You remember that you were on season 2, episode 6, and you press play. As opposed to turning on AMC and whatever movie they're playing. So Netflix, of course, is the big one. Netflix is pretty inexpensive, starts at $10 a month. Even a premium account for Netflix is only $20 a month. And the big difference is video quality and how many people can be using it at once. So the basic one is basic SD video and only one user at a time. The second one is 2 simultaneous users, HD video, and you can download stuff. So if you're going on a plane trip or going somewhere where you don't have internet access, you can download to your device and watch it on your plane trip. And you can do that with 2 devices. And then the premium is for 4 devices, basically. And Ultra HD when available, but it's not available for all of their content. So that would be that 4K HD video. Netflix has a ton of other studio content. It also is very much a producer of its own content now. So one of the hottest movies right now in the country is a Netflix exclusive. So you can't get that stuff anywhere else unless you're willing to really wait for libraries to be able to get the DVD, which takes a while. And to answer a common question, yeah, people share Netflix accounts all the time. It's not legal in their terms of service, but I almost know nobody who doesn't share their accounts with somebody else, whether it's your college student living away from home, or they're sharing their Netflix with you, you're sharing their Hulu. It works, but these companies are going to get more strict about it, I think, and we're starting to see that a little bit. And they're much more strict now than they first were when they first started about enforcing simultaneous use limits. If you are paying for the subscription to Netflix, you'd think there'd be a way to kick other people off when you want to watch a movie, but there isn't. So if you have an account that only allows 2 users, and your kid's in the bedroom watching something, and you share the account with your kids in Madison and they're watching something, you're just out of luck until one of them quits playing. You don't get to kick them off, which I always think shouldn't be. Like, I should be able to kick off the non-payers, but Netflix really wants them to pay for their own accounts, of course. So Hulu is the number 2 probably. It's getting pretty much up there though with Netflix. So Hulu has both on-demand subscriptions and live subscriptions. This is just their on-demand. We're going to talk about their live in a little bit. Netflix is only on demand. Netflix doesn't have live TV. They just have their video content that you can choose when you play it. And Hulu has it both. So Hulu has a basic account for $7 a month that has ads in it. Hulu no ads, they call it, is $13 a month, but it still has some ads, which is confusing, but they call it no ads, but it does. It only applies to their on-demand content too. When you get into the live end, even if you pay for no ads, you're still watching some ads. Hulu has a lot of television content. It also has quite a few movies now. It used to be Netflix was for movies, Hulu was for TV. Now there's a lot of overlap between the 2. And Hulu also is doing a lot of original content. So Handmaid's Tale is a Hulu exclusive. I think The Great, I wrote some down. Only Murders in the Building, if you're a Steve Martin fan, I watched that last year, it was kind of fun. So they have a lot of original content as well, not available on DVD, not available through any other streaming service, it's only available through Hulu. The nice thing about all of these is that there are no contracts. So if you want to watch Only Murders in the Building, you can subscribe to Hulu for a month, binge watch the whole thing, and then unsubscribe. There is no commitment necessary, unlike Directv or the satellites, where you used to have to commit to a year or 2 years or 3 years in order to pay for the equipment. So a lot of people turn these things on and off very frequently. I want to watch Netflix this month and Hulu next month. I don't need both at any one time, so I'll turn them on and off however I want. And it's very easy to do on their websites, which is not always true with subscription services. Amazon Prime Video, if you're already a Prime member for Amazon, where you get the faster shipping and so on, you have access to their Prime Video content. You can subscribe just to video content if you want for $9 a month, which is only going to save you $20 over the cost of a year of regular Amazon Prime. Not all video content on Amazon is included in Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime is kind of like their lower tier. Some of it is top quality. But they also rent movies on Amazon Prime. They also sell digital movies on Amazon Prime. So you don't get everything for free with your Prime membership, but there's a lot in there. Apple TV is not the same as the Apple TV box. They don't always come together. So Apple TV is a little confusing. There's an Apple TV app that you can put on any device that runs Apple, and you can use it to access anything you've purchased through the Apple Store, whether that's your music or your videos or whatever. Apple TV Plus is a subscription service that gives you access only to Apple exclusive content. They don't have a lot of back catalog from other networks or other studios. They really do their own thing. But the reason they're taking off is they have Ted Lasso. And if you've heard of Ted Lasso, I haven't watched Ted Lasso, but everybody tells me Ted Lasso is the greatest show ever. They really are focusing on original content for Apple TV Plus. If you buy a new Apple device, sometimes you'll get a free subscription. Sometimes it's 3 months, sometimes it's a year. And so that's how a lot of people were introduced to Apple TV. But the subscription to their content is $5 a month. In the Apple TV app, you can also access all of the other stuff that you've purchased through the Apple Store. Disney Plus, another really popular one. Most people will buy Disney Plus as a bundle because you can get Hulu, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus for $14 a month, which is pretty cheap. And that's Hulu on demand. It's the only place to get Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars content right now on the internet. They're not sharing that content with any other studios or streaming services. So Disney's got the corner on all of those big markets. And they're doing a lot of original content that's just for Disney Plus as well. So a lot of their, if you've got a Star Wars fan in your life, you probably already know that the Baby Yoda, that was the Mandalorian, that was only a Disney Plus thing. You can't get that anywhere else. It wasn't in theaters. It's not on DVD. ESPN Plus I mentioned because people get confused. It's not ESPN. You're not going to get Sports Center on ESPN Plus. You're not going to get regular ESPN. It is classic and original content, select live events. There's a lot of like soccer on there. There's a lot of women's basketball. It's not the premium ESPN stuff. And apparently it has a condensed version of Sports Center Roundup and so on. Most people get ESPN Plus because they bought it with the bundle. Most people don't, that I know of anyway, don't just subscribe to ESPN Plus by itself, but you can if you're really a sports person. And then every network that ever existed has its own service. Everyone, no kidding. Used to be, we'd say when we had cable TV, why can't I just buy the channels I want? And be careful what you wish for, because you can, at the cost of $10 to $15 a month for every channel that you've ever had. So every one of them, if you're really like a British TV person, BritBox is great. If that's all you need, that's great. If you are an I want access to everything person, this stuff adds up really fast. So you do have to sort of pick and choose unless you've got an unlimited budget. So premium channels are like HBO, Cinemax, Stars, the things that you used to pay extra to the cable company for. They still exist, and you still pay extra for them. And a lot of times you can buy them, like if you subscribe to Hulu, you can pay Hulu extra, and they will give you access to HBO or whatever you want. All access channels are typically done by the studios themselves. So Peacock is NBC's version, PBS has one, CBS Now, lots of other things. And they're basically like access to the back catalogs. So if you want all the old Miss Marple shows, it's Masterpiece Theater, you want to look at PBS. Peacock is NBC. Yeah, there's just all kinds of stuff. There are hundreds of these, so I can't cover them all. But if there's something that you want to watch, I'll tell you later about a tool that you can use to figure out where you might find it. And again, none of these require subscription contracts. So you could subscribe to Peacock for this month if you want to watch a certain NBC show and then drop that subscription next month. So that's on-demand content. That's, I want to watch a movie, I'll search for it, pull it up and play it. Any questions about that? All right, live streaming services then. This is the stuff that really gets people confused. I want to watch football. I want to watch hockey. I want to watch whatever. It's hard to get good live streaming services, and it's expensive because it's expensive technology. They have to stream it to the internet, and then it has to get to you in pretty much real time. There's always going to be a delay, and I tell people that because a lot of the people that really are asking me about live streaming TV is they're sports people. If you're watching the Twitter feed or if you're reading your Facebook and you're watching the big game, they're going to be posting about it 10 seconds before you're seeing it on your TV. So if you don't want spoilers, just watch your TV at the time. So Sling TV is a popular one. It's like cable, you know, it's not your local networks. It's like the back stuff. It's CNN, it's Fox News, it's FX channel, it's ESPN is on Sling TV. So that's a big reason people look at this one. HGTV, there are different packages, just like there were different packages with your cable or satellite provider. So they cost, you know, the beginning cost is $30. They go up from there. There are extra packages for certain channel groups that you might want to have. So if you're a news person and you really want all those news channels, you can pay an extra $5 a month for more news access. Sling TV, well, all of these really, they offer deals once in a while. So if you're thinking of adding one and you're willing to wait, keep an eye out. Sometimes they'll have good sales, sometimes they'll have good package deals. Like I said, I got my Apple TV for free when I signed up for Hulu. This is 2 years ago. They don't do that one anymore. But so if you're just poking around, wait and see what happens. Right now, Sling TV is offering a free Chromecast. So you'll save yourself $50 from buying a Chromecast if you subscribe. Sling TV does not do local channels though. You have to still have an HD antenna. They have a way to, if you have the right kind of HD antenna, it can go through your Sling TV so that you can still access it without having to physically change the television channel. I mean, you don't physically change them anymore, they're not knobs, but you know, you put on channel 3 for the cable, 4, 12, whatever. There's a way on Sling TV to get those local networks without changing the TV channel. It'll be displayed within your Sling TV box. I haven't done it, so I don't know how easy it is to do. Hulu Live does have local channels. It's more expensive, as you can see. It starts at $55 a month, and it goes up from there. $60.99 is not the top end of Hulu because you can also add on premium channel packages and so on. There's add-ons for having more screens. So if you have more than one TV or more than one user that wants to be able to use it, you need to add on those things. The local channels with Hulu Live, because they're folded into the regular cost of Hulu Live, they're relatively affordable, but they're weird because we have Hulu Live at my house. And some days we get Duluth TV, and some days we get Rhinelander, and some days we get Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And on rare occasion we get New York. And I think the way it works, and they won't tell me, you'd think you could just call them up and say, here's my zip code, that's what I want. But that's not how it works. It goes by what your IP address is. And I'm on DSL for CenturyLink. I don't know enough yet about how your fiber over in Boulder works, but our DSL IP numbers bounce around. And so CenturyLink has got a bazillion IP addresses that they can use. Sometimes they're putting me on the block that's out of Eau Claire, and sometimes they're putting me on the block that's out of Louisiana. And I can't control that. So I get whatever local stations happen to show up with my IP address. When I call them and talk to them about it, they don't believe me. But I can show, like I can stand here and videotape Baton Rouge's news in the morning and New York's news in the evening. It's weird. So sometimes things are quirky, that's my point. And sometimes they're out of your control, even if you're super tech savvy. And sometimes they don't believe you when you tell them this is what's happening. And they're like, no, it's not. You're in Wisconsin. I know I'm in Wisconsin. So there's no way to set where your home location is on those local channels. Hopefully your broadband here in Boulder Junction with your fiber to the home will be a little more stable IP addresses. Philo, not sure how to say it. Another really affordable option for live TV, but it doesn't have local channels or ESPN, and the only news network it has is BBC. Don't know why. But if you really just want those basic cable channels, like if you love the Hallmark Network and you want to also watch Discovery and things like that, it could be a really affordable option. And it works on almost every streaming device. Again, you have to download the app for whatever your particular device is. And there are always add-ons. Fubo is another one. It's a little more expensive, but it's another one of those sort of comprehensive. It's got a lot of news and sports networks. There are also more add-ons for that one too. So if you have a particular sport that you want to follow, NBA, I think, is a big one for Fubo. If you're a basketball fan, you can get additional packages that will help you get all the NBA. Directv Stream is the most expensive live TV option, streaming option that I'm aware of. It's also the most comprehensive, so it's really like replacing your satellite dish with a streaming box. The benefit of that, of course, is if you have good fiber to the home internet, you don't have to maintain a satellite dish anymore. You don't have to go out and brush the snow off and all that stuff. The one thing that people ask about is, can I get my NFL Sunday ticket? No, not through streaming. It's not available. You have to have a satellite dish unless you are a college student or unless you are in a network or in an area where you physically can't get Directv satellite service, in which case they do offer streaming NFL network, but we are not in either of those situations around here. I don't understand all of it, why it exists that way, but just at this point, they do not offer NFL Sunday ticket as a streaming option at all, even if you're willing to pay an enormous amount of money for it. They do have other sports packages. NBA League Pass is available. I believe there are some others for other sports too. And they do have local networks and regional networks included in their streaming. So it's expensive. It starts at $70 a month, and that's for like the basic package, but it does include your local networks. The $149.99 a month is like their top end, and that's going to include HBO and Cinemax and some of those other premium stuff. So it really is a full-on replacement for cable or satellite. So if you're just wanting to change the technology, but you don't want to give up any of the channels, Directv could be a good option. YouTube TV is another big player in the market right now. Of course, YouTube is owned by Google now. So you get all the power of Google behind it. And you get the power of YouTube for whatever that's worth. It is pretty comprehensive, 85 channels. It includes locals. It includes the league networks. NFL, MLB, NBA networks are included on YouTube TV. Again, you're going to want to look at which package you select. But you do have to pay an extra amount for 4K video. So if you have a nice TV that you're watching on, you might need to do that. They also have a DVR, digital video recorder. So if you want to record a live show and watch it later, you can do that through YouTube. You can do it through some of the others as well. YouTube's is unlimited space. So you could record 5,000 hours of live TV if you want. You could record every sports game for the whole season and watch them all at any time. And YouTube TV works with almost every streaming device. It is not the same as YouTube Premium, which every time you go to YouTube, they want to sell you YouTube Premium. That just cuts down on the ads for your YouTube on your computer. It is not the same thing as YouTube streaming, YouTube TV, which is live TV streaming. Any questions about that? Because that was the end of my streaming services talk. So back to the slide we talked about at the beginning. Oh, well, first, before we talk about that, how do you choose? There's a new thing. It's not really that new, but it's relatively new to me, so I can't speak all that intelligently about it yet. But I like it. I like what I've seen so far. It's called Just Watch, and it allows you to search. You go to Just Watch. You can just go to justwatch.com. You can just use it like a website, and you could say, "I want to watch Stargate, the movie," and it'll tell you every streaming service that Stargate shows up on. So if it lists Hulu as one of the options, you've got Hulu. You know you can go on your Hulu and watch it. Otherwise, on your streaming device, sometimes you're going into Hulu and searching, and then you're going into Netflix and searching, and then you're going into Peacock and searching, and it takes time. So Just Watch is a very helpful tool. You can sign up for a free account on Just Watch, and you can tell it, these are the services I subscribe to, and then it will search your services first and tell you, are you going to be able to watch what you're looking for or not. It is free to you, which of course means you are the product. I always tell people, if you're not paying for it, then you are the product. And my understanding of Just Watch's business model is they're data collecting for movie and television advertising networks. So they're trying to, they're going to collect data on what you're searching for, what you're watching. And I don't know if you care or not. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I just always point that out. If you're not paying for it, you are the service. You are the product. So if you sign into Just Watch, you can actually now get the Just Watch app that you can put on your streaming device, and you can search through Just Watch. And then if it finds the movie you're looking for on Hulu, it'll open up your Hulu and start playing it. So it's trying to integrate that way. I haven't used that yet, so I can't speak very well about how well it works. But I just want you to know that it exists. How I use Just Watch right now is just for the search feature. I just want to know if I want to watch Northern Exposure, can I stream it? The answer is no, you cannot stream Northern Exposure anywhere. Does anybody else remember that show? It was great. That was a great show.
Yeah, in the library.
Yeah, I know, that's where you can watch it. You can check out the discs at the library. So anyway, it's a useful tool. Justwatch.com is their web address. So now we're back to the same slide we started with at the beginning. All the things you have to think about when you're starting to stream. So you have to think about your budget. How much are you looking to spend? The biggest benefit of these streaming services is the ability to cancel at any time. So dip into something for a while. If you're not finding good stuff on it, just cancel it. No big deal. You can reinstate it at any time. It's like 3 clicks of a mouse. Once you've got your streaming device, you can get in and out of stuff at any time you want. Your internet speed, if you've got that sorted, you'll be good. How are you going to watch? Are you going to watch on your tablet? Are you going to figure out what to plug into your TV to make it stream over there? And then the big question, of course, is what the content is that you want. So justwatch.com is a great tool for that. Or just, searching around on the internet to see what you're looking for. The other thing is most of the streaming services offer free trials. Usually it's just 7 days, maybe 14 days. So I recommend you try them out. Write down on your calendar so that you cancel before the free trial is up, because they will charge you. Most of them will ask you for a credit card. Some of them don't ask for a credit card anymore, but then they cut you off. And you either have to give them a new email address or a different credit card number for your next free trial. But I recommend that you try to do the free trials because there's really nothing to lose. You give them your email address. Some of them do require that you put a credit card down. But you can try it out for a week. And honestly, if you only were in it for one show, you can binge watch the show in a week and then be done. I mean, they're aware that we're doing that, and that's all right. And don't forget that you can always check out DVDs at your library. So if you really are stuck on something like Northern Exposure, you can check it out from the library anytime. That's all I had to say today. Any questions? Yeah.
So where's the best place to go to watch the Olympics?
So NBC, I think, is always the place that has the Olympics. So you're going to probably have to get Peacock. Or you're going to have to get a live TV streaming service that's going to offer you an NBC local station. So Peacock is NBC's streaming service. They do have a free Peacock access, and then there are paid levels of access. I haven't looked specifically into the Olympics yet, so I don't know. I would be very surprised if Peacock was offering the Olympics for free. But if you have a live TV streaming service that's offering you local networks, so that would be like Hulu, YouTube TV, Hulu Live, YouTube TV, Directv stream, any of those, you're going to probably watch most of it on your local networks.
Teresa,
Yeah.
we have a question from one of the Zoom participants. What services besides YouTube lets you send to DVR and record?
That's a good question. I'm going to zip back through my slideshow here, because I did take notes on some of that. So I'm pretty sure that Directv Stream has a DVR. Fubo TV does have a DVR. YouTube is the only one that offers one that's unlimited space. But Fubo has one as well. I'm pretty sure that Sling has a DVR space. I am not certain about Hulu. So yeah, for certain I can say Fubo and Directv Stream and YouTube TV offer it. But the others you'd have to look into. I'm just not certain. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to use an Apple app, do you have to have
Video?
You do not have to have an Apple TV, no. The Apple TV app is available for most of the streaming devices. So I know you can do it for certain on Roku. Pretty sure you can do it on an Amazon Fire device. I know you can do it on any tablet or smartphone. So all of those things are available. You don't have to have an Apple TV to use the Apple TV app. The Apple TV app will then give you access to Apple TV Plus if you choose to subscribe to it. And that's that $5 a month service. So if you want to watch Ted Lasso, you can pay your $5 a month for that. Other questions? Yeah.
Could you keep your dish network for your local channels and then just pay for the local channels and still stream everything on there?
Yeah, I'm sure you could, yeah. So most likely you'd have on your television, you'd have your dish plugged into one of your HDMI ports and you'd have a streaming device plugged into the other. And you'd have to just change the source on your TV when you wanted to switch between them. So I'm not sure I don't know anything about Dish's available packages or pricing. So I don't know if it would be a cost-effective way to go, but I'm sure you could do it if you wanted to. Other questions?
Teresa, Mary has her hand up. Let me just see if I can unmute her.
Sure.
Mary, can you hear me?
Now I can. Greg has a question.
Okay, sorry.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So Teresa, am I correct in understanding that the kind of the sequence of events in this educational event is first getting the high-speed broadband, which everyone in Boulder Junction now has access to, is the second step getting and making a selection of a media player, and then the third selecting whatever streaming service and or TV service you want to run through that device? Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's a logical sequence of events, I would say. If you're really uncertain about whether streaming is right for you and you don't even want to commit the $30 to a Fire Stick or whatever, you could just try out any streaming service you want on your smartphone or tablet or on a website. So you can go to any of these companies have a website, Hulu.com, Netflix.com, whatever. You could watch the content of any of those things on a laptop or on a tablet or on a smartphone without even having to purchase any other kind of streaming device. You could use what you already have to test it out. But if you know you want to like get rid of your satellite dish and you're going to do some kind of streaming, you just don't know what yet. Yes, I think the sequence you described is a good one. You've got your internet in place, you're going to buy some sort of streaming device, whether that's a smart TV or something to plug into your TV, and then decide what services you want to use. But you can, like I said, with all those trials available for most any service, you can try any of them out on a device you already own before you commit to getting rid of your satellite dish.
Very good. A follow-up question. Does that mean then, for example, we have 2 TVs in our home? Would we need to buy a media player for each one in order to access the streaming service that we would decide to go with?
Yes, you would need a streaming device of some sort on both TVs. So there's no way to share one streaming device between multiple televisions for the most part. I'm not aware of any that can do that. So you would have to have a device plugged into both TVs. You would log into the streaming services with the same account. So you could buy one Hulu account and have it logged in on both televisions. Just depending on your subscription, you may or may not be able to watch television on both of them simultaneously. Just depends on what subscription level you pay for. So Netflix, for example, their basic, you can only watch one screen at a time. But if you bought one of the higher level packages, you could have streaming devices on your 2 televisions and each of you could be watching a different movie in different rooms on the same account. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Yeah.
Teresa, just to clarify, Greg, on your timeline, you referenced that the broadband was the first in the timeline. I just want to clarify that broadband isn't an absolute requirement. I have not had my broadband installed yet, and I am able to stream at home in Boulder with the existing DSL service.
Yeah, and that's very true. So the comment is you don't have to have the fiber to the home in order to stream, and that's absolutely true. I am streaming at home on a DSL line that's promised at 25 megabit service. On a good day, we get 18, and we are able to do multiple streams at a time with my kids in the house. So it is possible to do that. I will clarify that even DSL is considered broadband, but the fiber to the home that Boulder Junction now has access to is really, really nice compared to what the DSL offers. So you can have a better experience on fiber, but it is absolutely possible to do it on a DSL line. If you're on a really slow old DSL line, like there are still people in the Mercer area where I work that can't get DSL any faster than about 3 megabit service. That's really pushing it. You can stream to a cell phone on 3 megabit service, but you're not going to get to a TV at any quality that someone's going to enjoy watching. So, yeah.
Do you see there's more services come around? Is there more competition involved? Or our prices just keep going up because they're offering, bigger and greater movies, so they're more expensive? Or
In general, prices have continued to go up across the board. They go up sort of equivalently between competitors, but they have continued to increase. Are they going to come back down? I think really what it's boiling down to is the sort of all access providers, the big ones, the YouTube TV, the Hulu Live, the Directv stream, the ones that are trying to offer you a true cable replacement. I think those prices are going to continue to increase. I think people who aren't interested in that level of service are going to continue to dip in and out of different smaller services. So subscribe to BritBox for a month and then subscribe to, to basic Netflix for a month and then something else. So my guess is they're all going to do what the satellite companies used to do, which is they're all going to keep going up a little at a time, but they're not going to go up a lot more than their competitor went up. But I think there's still a lot more consumer choice now, because you don't have to have one of those big packages to get access to everything. The exception being sports. And sports are tricky to get unless you've got one of those big packages. So I don't know. I would like to see Directv make some changes on their sports packages. Like, we subscribe at my house to Hulu Live because my husband watches football. And when the football season is over, we will go back to Hulu regular and save $50 a month. So I would like to be able to just buy the NFL package or whatever, but that's a whole complicated thing that's really not technology related, it's business related. It's a contract between the provider and the sports league, whatever that league would be. I don't know if that answered your question, but.
maybe you'd like to think that, more competition would drive prices down, but I keep seeing it go up because, they're offering this new series, and because you get involved in that series, you want to buy that particular service.
Right, yeah. I think you're right. You would think that the opposite would happen, if the competition would drive things down, and that's why so many of these service providers are focusing on that exclusive content. I can't watch Ted Lasso anywhere but out there. So I don't have a competition on that one if I want that show. And if they can get enough buzz around whatever their movie or their show is, then if you want to be part of that buzz, you got to pay for their subscription, So again, that's why the no contract thing is nice. And I'm hoping that that's not going to change, because you used to be able to get much shorter contracts on satellite or anything else too, but now you're locked into long contracts for those. So we'll see. We'll see how the streamers go. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thanks for sticking it out all the way to an hour and 20 minutes. Appreciate it. And my contact information is here. I'm not going to try to steal you away from Sherry, but I do offer tech appointments over at the library. So if you have more follow-up questions about streaming, feel free to reach out to me. And Sherry, of course, is here to answer questions that are more Boulder Junction specific. I don't know nearly enough about your great internet service to help you with that right now, but I'm jealous of you, I'll tell you that. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You know, leave the chair. Leave the chair. You have another meeting.
Question for you. Fax service here?
So the town office has a fax. So when you go onto the other side of the building, you got a central hallway. It is the library, if you take a